Hey, it's Joseph here with another video, and today, inspired by Mazzy's channel. Most of you are familiar with Mazzy. He's been a mainstay here in the vinyl community for many years, and he does something called a whack-a-mole, and it's where he chooses a couple albums at random, pulls them out of his collection, and then makes some brief comments on them. So I've always enjoyed when he does that, so I'm going to do my version of it. So here's 5 random pulls from my collection. Kind of mix it up over here, different areas. That's 2, 3, 4, and 5. So anyways, let's see what we got. First of all, we have Bobby Blue Bland. Oh, this is a great album. Bobby Blue Bland, Two Steps from the Blues. Of course, this is the early Bobby Blue Bland. This is from the early 60s. There's the back album cover. And this is on the Duke label. Orange Duke label. This is a pretty early release. Can't remember where I picked this up, but I picked it up in the wild. And it's got some great tunes. Two Step from the Blues, that's a really great one. Cry, 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 I believe that was a hit for Bobby back in the day. And I'm Not Ashamed. All across the board, it's a great album. Of course, Bobby Blue Bland plays the uptown blues with horns inspired. And I was very fortunate to see Bobby a couple times throughout the years. Mostly, I believe it was the early 80s. And he was still in really good form. He would go on to have a great career. He would kind of get more into a soul vein, soul blues vein on the Malaco label. But this is some of his early stuff. And if you like, some horn-driven blues, Bobby Blue Band is the way to go. And this is his classic, Two Steps from the Blues. Next up, we have Tracy Nelson. Haven't heard this one in a while. Tracy Nelson. This is called Deep Are the Roots. And once again, this is, I believe, might be her first album. This is on the Prestige label. A reissue from the 70s. And it's been quite some time since I've heard this album. But here, Tracy is backed up by some great musicians. Peter Wolf, who would play with, of course, the Jay Giles Band, and Charlie Musselwhite's also on guitar. And she does some great songs: Motherless Child Blues, Baby Please Don't Go, Oh My Babe, Trust No Man, Candyman. But Tracy Nelson, she's a really great singer, and I have to give this another listen. I haven't heard it in some time. I believe she went on to sing with Mother Earth Band. I'm not sure. But Tracy Nelson, Deep Are the Roots. Little Milton, We're Gonna Make It. There's Little Milton. And of course, he's a singer, guitar player, blues man. And somewhat similar to Bobby Blue Bland, but more even in a soul vein. And this has some great tunes on it. We're Gonna Make It. I'm Gonna Move to the Outskirts of Town. Who's Cheating Who? And this is on the Chess label, the reissue. And once again, I also heard Little Milton a couple of times throughout the year. Sometimes he would be on the same bill, I believe, with Bobby Blue Bland. I saw a lot of great blues artists at the Long Beach Blues Festival. And I believe, to me, Little Milton really never got his due, because he was always kind of in the second tier of well-known bluesmen. But he's outstanding, and I encourage you, if you ever see any of his albums out there, pick them up. And if you like the blues with some horns and some funk styles, Little Milton is his way to go. Next up, we have Eddie Harris. Eddie Harris in the UK, the London Sessions. There's Eddie on the back. And I really enjoy Eddie Harris. Actually, the very first album I ever bought, a jazz album on my own, was Silver Serenade back in 1969. And I was always intrigued by Eddie's use of the electronics, especially the Echoplex. He was one of the early users of Echoplex and the baritone sax. And I always thought that was the coolest thing to be an electric horn player. And he was definitely one of the first, and I think one of the best. And this is recorded in the UK, and of course it's got UK musicians on it like Albert Lee, Alan White on drums, and Stevie Winwood is actually even on some electric piano. I remember specifically there's a couple of spaced out cuts. So I think it's Conversations of Everything and Nothing. It's 15-minute track where they really kind of start playing a little bit out there. And that also has Stevie Winwood on electric piano. But this is not one of his more well-known albums, maybe not one of his best, but it's definitely worth a listen. Eddie Harris in the UK. Next up, I guess I pulled from my Stan collection area, Stan Kenton, Some Women I've Known. This is the creative world of Stan Kenton. Back cover is pretty beat up, and it's on Stan's own label, Stan Kenton, the creative world of Stan Kenton. And one of the reasons I really love Stan Kenton and all the big bands is my dad was a huge big band fan. He really loved Stan Kenton, especially the 50s years when he had guys like Maynard Ferguson and Art Pepper at times. But here, this is called Some Women I've Known, and it's featuring some of the female vocalists that performed with Stan through the years, like Anita O'Day, Traveling Man, recorded way back in 45, June Christy, who was one of my all-time favorite female singers from the 50s. I really love June Christy. Chris Connor also along those lines. Jeepers Creepers, she sings. And Chris Connor, All About Ronnie is on here. And also Soothe Me, June Christy. I remember hearing Soothe Me sung by Maria Muldaur on one of her albums. Great tune. But Stan Kenton, he sometimes gets some criticism that he was, over the top with the big band arrangements. But I, for one, have always enjoyed Stan's recordings because one of the reasons is because my dad's great love for the music. I always think of my dad when I hear the music of Stan Kenton. And you can always find his albums pretty much almost in the dollar bins, but some of them are really outstanding. And Stan Kenton, the creative world of Stan Kenton, Some Women I've Known. And the last one is Joe Albany. This is called Joe Albany, recorded live at Montreux. And this is on the Inner City label. Blue Inner City label. And Joe Albany is kind of an interesting guy. He was a really amazing bop-inspired pianist. I'm not sure if he came from Los Angeles or from New York, but this is recorded at the Jazz House Montmartre in Copenhagen in 1973, and he's backed up, but he's a trio. It's Hugo Rasmussen, who I believe is one of the main bass players that would back up jazz musicians in Copenhagen on bass, and a drummer by the name of Hans Niemand. But Joe Albany, as I say, he was somewhat of a tragic figure. He from my understanding, he battled some addictions through the years, and maybe that's some of the reason why he wasn't more well known. But very outstanding piano player, very inspired. And I remember correctly, this is him in pretty good form here in 1973. He does Steeplechase, a Charlie Parker tune, Night and Day. I remember there was a great blues song here. He does his version of C.C. Rider, which kind of has him more in almost a straight-ahead blues vein. He does Round About Midnight and Night in Tunisia. So I'm going to have to definitely give this one a spin soon because I really enjoy the work of Joe Albany. I also believe there's a documentary done with his daughter where she kind of reflects on Joe's life, and I remember it was a good documentary. But Joe Albany, Birdtown Birds, recorded live at Montreux. So that's a quick look at 5 records randomly pulled from my collection. And thought it'd be fun, so hope you enjoyed it. Like, subscribe. Till next time, Joseph out.